Hey everybody, just out here visiting with the animals. I figured I'd go ahead and introduce you. This is Silly Sally, she's the baby. And that's her mama right there. I'm just out here at a good friend's house was kind enough to watch our animals for us. And you know, he was a blessing to us and our family. And we made the decision to go ahead and sell the house and get ready to move and stuff like that. We had nowhere to go with, or nowhere to take the animals and stuff like that, and he was definitely a blessing to us. You can see that we have some rabbits here. So the goats are Nigerian dwarf goats. These here are all meat rabbits. They're also meat and show rabbits, so they'll obviously provide meat. The goats, Nigerian dwarf goats, if you're not familiar with them, they're a miniature breed of goat, and they're basically a milk goat. They're not a meat goat, doesn't mean you can't eat them, but these girls are actually pets and not food. Friends, but not food. And then, let's see if I can show you some of the chickens here. All right, these guys here, these are American breasts. They're a meat bird from France that was brought over to America. And so if you're doing Cornish cross or Freedom Rangers, these guys they'll lay eggs. They're a great meat bird that happens to lay eggs. So they're fantastic. They take a little bit longer to get up to butchering weight than your traditional meat birds. There goes the rabbits. New Zealand whites, in case you're wondering. They take a little bit longer to get up to butchering weight, but once they get there, they're, let me tell you, a tasty bird. They're great. They hold flavor. In France, they feed them corn and milk, and that's strictly what their diet is. So with them feeding them corn and milk, it kind of marbles the chicken meat. So when you're processing them, that marbling, that fat that gets into that meat holds the flavor a lot more. So not only the meat itself is normally full of flavor, and trust me, when you actually eat one of them and you compare it to like your store-bought bird, it's just a big difference. These are our silly little girls running around. What you want? I'm surprised they're not goofing around. But so once we actually get to the property, then we'll be able to incorporate some of the honeybees and all these animals, and we still have to put infrastructure in. Right now on the property, we're cultivating the land and developing the hay, so that way it has less thorns and thistles and some of the other stuff that tends to get into hay that the animals don't eat. I want it to be a good forage for them. Now I just wanted to go over something real quick. If you see the birds, the chickens are like right under the rabbits. And that's actually through design. So as the rabbits go to the bathroom, it falls to the ground. And this is kind of a circular system where the rabbits' droppings and their urine and the hay hit the ground. And then what happens is your natural, organic insects start to get into that soil. And if you're lucky, you get soldier fly larvae. Now you say flies? Well, these aren't your normal house flies. These are soldier flies. Once they become flies, they don't have a mouth on them. They don't bite. They aren't very icky, and they specifically like that moist ground. Now, Well, the cool thing behind soldier flies is not only will they nest and grow and make grubs and multiply, but once you have them and those grubs are growing, they provide a protein source for the chickens. So now the chickens are scratching through all that. Now I don't have to compost any of that, first off, because rabbit manure and urine is cold manure. And then also it becomes an ecosystem for another food source for the chickens. So the more you can feed your chickens without having to buy feed, the cheaper it is to maintain them. So you might be asking yourself, well, how do the goats play a role into this whole kind of micro ecosystem? Or, well, basically the goats, when you have aerial predators that want to eat your chickens, the chickens are basically, of course they want to be loud now that I'm out here, everything eats chicken. So you have a lot of aerial predators, even some predators that are on the ground. Now I'm talking about smaller predators. I'm not talking about the bigger ones. I guess she wants to follow me. She's excited that she just laid an egg. When you have some of the smaller predators, they'll shy away, especially the aerial predators. Now in here, and I'll catch a picture of Rooster. Rooster is obviously a rooster. He protects the flock. But when your aerial predators see these goats here, they tend to be deterred. So the goats are a good deterrent from keeping some of these other predators away, right, guys? At least that's what I've found here. Having the goats around kind of deters everybody, all the other predators from coming around, which is great. We've yet to lose one of these guys, knock on wood, to an aerial predator or anything like that. So there goes Rooster. I know. It's a very common name. Hey, sweet girl. So Nigerian dwarf goats are a miniature breed, in case you're wondering. Their milk is supposed to be one of the best. I never grew up on goat's milk or anything like that. We haven't milked these girls yet, although she's been a mom, and she's been a mom. We just since we're just getting started with the goats. I say we're getting started. We've had them for a couple of years now. Just never had the time to milk them. All right. So, in case you're wondering, dude, how are you feeding the chickens and keeping the mischievous goats from getting to the chicken feed? I'm going to show you that here in a minute. Okay. Here you go. My wife lovingly calls this the outhouse. Now, if you see Rooster, he's in there, right? You gonna come out, Rooster? He's not aggressive or anything like that. He actually likes people. So, this opening is too small for the goats to get to. This ledge is too short for them to hop on. And there goes their feeder. Now, the only downside to this is if the birds start laying eggs in here, it's kind of, you gotta get into it and then you have to clean this out and such. But there goes their feeder. Now you can feed them a bulk amount and not have to worry about it for, like, depending on how many birds, that bucket there will last a week for like 10 birds here. So there you have it. That's how we incorporate 3 different species together to help this cycle. Helps with cleaning, because chickens help move some of that manure around. Goats are like our watchdogs. Now we do have, for the larger predators, there's deterrents everywhere, and you probably have seen it in the background, and I'll show it to you here in just a second. We do have a hot wire that runs at the top and a hot wire that runs at the bottom for them. So there you have it. On every pole, we have the insulators for the hot wire that runs up top and it runs to the bottom. And then they share a shelter. Birds have somewhere to fly up and roost, and then my buddies put up these panels up there to keep the birds from sitting up there and pooping on the rabbits. But one of the other things I wanted to show, that's all right, girl, I'm not chasing you, is their waterers, right? It's simple. You don't have to constantly be out here. The actual chickens drink out of that watering system, and that same line that kind of runs up there goes inside, fills up an automatic waterer for the rabbits. I'll show you that. All right, so if you look in the back here, you'll see that watering bucket. That watering bucket comes in, fills up with water, and now there's a float in there like you have in your toilet. And those lines, through pressure, come over here and feed the rabbits. So, like anybody else, I try to make my life simple. Watering's probably one of the messier things to deal with. Yes, it becomes a problem during the winter time, and you do have to worry about freezing and stuff. If you bury your water lines, it does help, but when things get colder and we have things set up, I'll go ahead and show you that stuff. We've got heated water bowls, and there are several different tips and tricks to keep the water from freezing, so that way your animals already have it. You're not out here schlubbing buckets of water and freezing yourself during the winter time. Give you a little introduction. That's Pebbles over there. Hey, Mama. And this is Silly Sally's mom, Lucy. And that's Silly Sally. She still has a thick fur on her. Now, Silly Sally's not a year old yet. And I mean, she has just been growing like mad. Wonderful little girl. Came out looking just like her mama and her dad. You see how they love on each other. Now, if you ever decide you're going to get Nigerian dwarf goats or any type of goat, they are a herd animal. And so you can't just have one. You have to have a few. Now, you see little Silly Sally's trying to express her dominance through play with Pebbles here. I guess Pebbles wants to express her dominance here with me. And so you can't have one, and a dog is not a companion. They're a herd animal. They have to be with their own kind for the most part. And yes, I've seen people have them with dogs and or other ruminants, but it's always best when they're part of a tight-knit herd, and especially just throwing them all together. These are relationships, these are bonds that they make with one another. And you can see, like, the chickens and the goats and even the rabbits, they have their own thing going on. Well, there you have it. That's what we're doing, that's where we're at, and that's a little bit of our craziness from this journey. I'm gonna head on back to the house. I'm done with my honey-do list for today. But I hope that you found something in this video that blesses you. And like I said before, I'm just a nobody trying to tell somebody about the man who saved my soul. God, Lord, keep you, and God bless you. See you later.